Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Wuxia. The Great Qin Storyteller, Maid Zhou Zhiruo travel through the terrifying world of Kyushu and start off as a storyteller. He was a formidable figure that the first emperor of the Great Qin could not recruit. He ranked the list of Kyushu Sword Gods, Zhang Sanfen, unknown, and many strong swordsmen were amazed by it. He has compiled a list of Kyushu beauties, and countless Kyushu beauties want to enter the list. Until one day, there was a dramatic change in heaven and earth, and a mysterious golden chart descended upon them. On the list of the pinnacle of martial arts in Kyushu, legendary gods and demons such as the Great Sun Tathagata, Nuwa, and the Nine Heavenly Empress appeared one by one. Xia Fan, ranked first on the martial arts peak ranking, with immortal emperor-level combat power, turned his hand to destroy the world, and reversed the long river of time. I was actually counted. Xia Fan looked at the sky gold chart with a bewildered expression. Zhao Ling'er, Zhou Zhiruo, Xiaomeng, inviting moon, and other women worshipped and watched Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1 Sword comes from the West, harmony between heaven and man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are 9 states in the world, including Yongzhou, Yenzhou, Huazhou, Hanzhou, Liangzhou, Nanming, Hanzhou, Zhongzhou, and overseas Yingzhou. Moreover, to the north of Hanzhou, Yongzhou, and Hanzhou lies an extremely vast and boundless grassland, while to the southwest of Huazhou and Nanming lies an endless and vast primeval forest. To the east of Yenzhou and Yongzhou lies the vast and boundless East China Sea. The territory of the 9 provinces in the world is vast and cannot be measured by human labor. Legend has it that there was a congenital expert who hiked eastward from Hanzhou for 3 months without crossing the border of Zhongzhou to reach Yenzhou in the east, indicating the vastness of the world. Within the 9 provinces of this country, there are multiple powerful dynasties coexisting. The Great Qin Empire, the Great Han Dynasty, the prosperous Tang Dynasty, the Great Song Dynasty, the Great Ming Dynasty, the Great Qin Dynasty. There are also countless powerful sects and experts among these countries. For example, within the territory of the Ming Dynasty in Zhongzhou, there existed a group of powerful forces such as Haima Cliff, Wudong Mountain, Mingjiao, Zhonghua Pavilion, and Tianxia Hui. Within the territory of Qin, there were Yin Yang and Mo schools. In the Song Dynasty, there were Beggars Sect, Shushan Sect, and so on. This is a world of comprehensive martial arts, making everything that was originally impossible possible. When Xia Fan arrived in this world, he was also stunned by the background of this world. He didn't expect to cross into this world of martial arts, and one of them was to appear directly on the desolate border of the prosperous Tang Dynasty in Hanzhou. To the north of Hanzhou are various tribes of grassland barbarians and cavalry, among which the most famous is the 6 Beiyuan tribes. In the face of strong northern enemies, the Tang Dynasty dispatched famous generals Shui Rengui and Li Ji to guard the border. But due to being a remote and sparsely populated area, Xia Fan almost starved to death when he traveled here. After several twists and turns, Xia Fan finally arrived at a somewhat crowded place by riding the carriage of a passing caravan. Longyu Town. The border town of the Tang Dynasty, where countless caravans and crowds from all over come and go, is considered a good county city. It's really bad. Xia Fan walked on the bustling street, touching his shy pocket and speechless. I don't have a penny in my pocket. Would it be that I would become the most miserable traveler, starving to death? No, I need to find some work to solve the problem of food and clothing first. Xia Fan walked around and found that there was no suitable job for her. After all, this world is different from the modern civilization world before, and there is no way to get through difficulties by going to the factory and fixing a few screws when there is no way out. Calm down, leverage your strengths, and find your strengths. Xia Fan stood in front of a restaurant with few diners, trying to think, what's my strength? Handsome. No, I can't sell my beauty. Good memory. No, there's nothing to be reckoned with here. I'm dizzy. I'm a modern young man who knows everything from astronomy to geography, but I can't find a job in this chaotic world. Just as Xia Fan was in great sorrow, the waiter in the store happened to come out to attract customers. Upon hearing Xia Fan's laments, he immediately looked down upon him and said, "You're the only one. You're still a wealthy person. I'm afraid you can't even tell a story well." "Ha! That's right. That's a great idea." Xia Fan turned his head and glanced at the restaurant whose business was so bleak that it didn't match the entire street. He grabbed the waiter and said, "Hey buddy, I don't see much business in your store. Can you lend me a place to showcase it? If I help you attract business, I'll have 1/3 of the profits in the store today. What do you think?" Upon hearing this, the waiter suddenly became unhappy and said, "Go away, go away. Look at you, you poor guy. What ability do you have to snatch business from our store across the street? I think you're just cheating on food and drink." Xia Fan saw that the restaurant across the street was very skilled, using women as hosts, making it much more attractive than here, with a steady stream of guests. Xia Fan smiled slightly and said confidently, "It's needless to say, since your store doesn't have much business, I'll borrow a piece of land to make it okay. If it doesn't work out well, it will be a great luck for your store to do business. Do you think so?" "What else does the waiter have to say?" The shop owner walked out with a smile on his face, grabbed the waiter with one hand, and asked Xia Fan, "I dare to ask, little brother. I can lend you the land, but what are your means?" Xia Fan pointed to the crowded restaurant across from him and said, "Boss, please set up a board for me at the door with the 8 characters purple forbidden peak, flying immortals from outside the heaven written on it. And ask the staff to knock the gong and drum to make some noise, and see how I can snatch away customers with a tiger's mouth." The boss rolled his eyes and immediately followed Xia Fan's instructions. Bang bang. The waiter held a copper gong and pounded it fiercely, immediately attracting strange gazes from pedestrians on the street. Purple forbidden peak, flying immortals from outside the sky. What does that mean? Soon, a pedestrian stopped and looked at the words on the wooden board at the entrance, wondering. The peak of the Forbidden City. Does it refer to the city of the Ming dynasty, which is incredibly noble? Where was the flying immortal that day? The words on the board quickly attracted some people to speculate there. Xia Fan sat in a chair beside him with a smile on his face, holding a simple folding fan and saying, "You all know the Forbidden City. Do you not know the unstoppable divine power of the Lord of Baiyun, who is known for his unstoppable, one sword from the west, unity between heaven and man, ... As soon as Xia Fan spoke these words, there was a commotion among the crowd around him, and many people immediately gathered around. So he's a storyteller. A person reached out and threw an ingot of silver, saying, "I've seen many swordsmanship masters before. I've never heard of such arrogance before. Just tell me what kind of sword the outer flying immortal is this day. If you say it well, I'll reward you heavily. If you say it poorly, I'll smash your stall." Xia Fan smiled and said, "Today, what I'm talking about is not swordsmanship, but the story behind the purple forbidden peak. If you want to hear it, please sit down and listen to me slowly." Many people around were idle and had nothing to do. They all sat down nearby and called for a waiter to serve tea, hoping to hear what story this young storyteller was going to tell. Upon seeing that the effect was good, Xia Fan immediately gathered many people and became even more confident. He immediately spoke up, "But there is a swordsmanship master named Baiyun City Lord on the Feixian Island in the South China Sea. And within the territory of the Ming dynasty, there is also a plum blossom villa, and the master of the villa, the snow-blowing man from the West Gate, is called the Sword God." There was a commotion among the people around, expressing an exaggeration towards the title of Sword God. But in the corner, some imperceptible people had a sharp cold gleam in their eyes. Ding! Trigger system conditions to activate the storyteller system. Ding. Congratulations on obtaining the storyteller system. Ding. The system experience value is online, and storytelling mode is activated. Ding. The system rewards are online, and the self-selection and machine selection reward modes are activated. Ding. The system lottery has been launched and the lottery mode has been activated. Xia Fan, who was speaking fluently, was surprised by a series of system prompts. So I also have a system, right? Xia Fan crazy roast. I said that storytelling can trigger the activation of the system. He meows 10 books a day. Chapter 2. Unprecedented Martial Arts. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Xia Fan triggered the system, a series of prompt sounds were emitted, and all the functions were finally launched. However, it is obvious that Xia Fan did not meet the conditions, so all the system reward packages, system lottery, etc. were not used. Xia Fan is not in a hurry either. Since the system has been opened, according to the procedure, once the conditions are met, the system will definitely be able to be used. The story of the Purple Forbidden Peak became more and more addictive as Xia Fan spoke, and during this time, he added some of his own insights, gradually attracting more and more people to come and listen to the book. It turns out that Ye Guqing was covered in the fragrance of flowers all over his body, not because he was afraid of smelling the foul smell of his wounds, but because he was afraid that others would find out that there was no foul smell of injury on his body. Xia Fan said leisurely, the battle between the Lord of Baiyun City and the young master of Tangmen in Sichuan was completely a conspiracy. He pretended to be injured and covered it up with the fragrance of flowers, so he deceived many people. The people around suddenly realized and clapped their hands, cheering loudly. At this point, after Xia Fan's operation, the small shop was already overcrowded, and the waiter poured tea, poured water, and served dishes, almost running and breaking his leg. The cheers of the crowd made Xia Fan see the crazy increase in system experience points. Can cheers and sense of identity increase system experience points? The Lord of Baiyun City is very insightful and wise, playing with everyone in his hands. Xia Fan let out a sigh to the people around him who were interested in listening. Immediately, everyone felt that a turning point was about to occur, and they all perked up their ears and stared at Xia Fan. Sure enough, Xia Fan said, as the saying goes, a wise man's every thought must come to an end. The Lord of Baiyun City has calculated everything, but Lu Xiaofeng has still found the loophole and discovered that the duel with the sword god Shimen Chuexue is just a cover. As soon as the surrounding listeners listened, there were immediately voices of regret, surprise, and disdain. Everyone has different opinions on the revelation of Ye Guqing's conspiracy. Xia Fan looked at the expressions on everyone's faces and was very satisfied with his storytelling effect. He said, in the end, the Lord of Baiyun was surrounded by thousands of troops and horses, which was already a deadly situation. However, the Lord of Baiyun still went to the top of the Forbidden City to compete with the Sword God. Upon hearing this, many listeners around clapped their hands. Okay. Even though he's still a man, he's on the brink of death and still dares to keep the appointment. Not bad. It's not in vain that he has reached this level of swordsmanship cultivation. What's going on later? Let's keep talking, the guests urged. At this moment, the surroundings were already crowded with people. Not only inside the restaurant, but also on the main road outside, there were people trying to stretch their necks and listen to the storytelling inside. Obviously, Xia Fan's storytelling has had a good effect, attracting incalculable customer base to the small restaurant. The boss has been laughing at the counter so hard that he can't close his mouth. Today is considered a big day. If you want to know the future, let's listen to the breakdown in the next chapter. Xia Fan took a sip of tea and said with a smile. Suddenly, there were boos all around, and all the listeners were very dissatisfied. Just as they heard something important, they didn't expect the storyteller to stop talking. Isn't this appetizing? Xia Fan said helplessly, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have been talking for 3 hours now. You have eaten 2 rounds of food, and all the rice, vegetables, and tea in the store have been eaten by you. I am now dry and thirsty. Can you give me a break? Come back tomorrow." Upon hearing Xia Fan's words, everyone was willing to give up and leave behind the reward money, and then dispersed. Ding! When the system rewards experience points are full, get a chance for self-selection or machine selection rewards. Xia Fan, who took a sip of tea, suddenly heard the system prompt sound. He quickly turned on the system and was overjoyed. The system rewards are divided into 2 modes. One is to choose one reward from the rewards listed by the system, and the other is to randomly reward one reward by the system. The reward quality is divided into ordinary rewards, advanced rewards, top-notch rewards, and legendary rewards. The prize bar for self-selected rewards mostly consists of ordinary rewards paired with a high-level reward, but even though the random rewards are all blind box selections, there is a chance to obtain top-notch rewards. At first glance, Xia Fan saw that the self-selected rewards were all ordinary items such as the 5 Elements Fist Manual, Internal Martial Arts, 7-Star Knife, Cold Iron Sword, etc. There was a high-level reward called the Gi Jin Jing, but Xia Fan didn't like it. How about choosing a random one? Xia Fan instinctively said. Ding! The host selects a random reward. Ding! Please wait. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the top-notch skill, Wuxia Ju. A series of imprints quickly appeared in Xia Fan's consciousness, and the Wuxia formula, which claimed to follow the natural path and reach the power of the universe at that time, was obtained by Xia Fan from his classic scriptures. This is a timeless martial arts skill amidst the wind and clouds. I am now weak and powerless, but this extremely low skill also fits perfectly with me. Xia Fan was pleasantly surprised. However, before Xia Fan could try the Wuxia Ju, the system sounded again. Ding! The system's lottery experience is full and you have 1 chance to draw. Do you want to choose to draw now? Xia Fan carefully examined the lottery conditions in the system and found that it was quite interesting. The lottery was also divided into 4 grade levels. Based on his experience today, it was only a reward between ordinary and advanced, so the maximum reward he would receive in a lottery was advanced. But the system lottery has a special setting. As long as it is a 10 consecutive draw, you will definitely receive at least 1 top-notch reward. It could be a top-notch pill, a top-notch skill, or a top-notch equipment. And even if it's 10 regular lucky draws accumulated, it can trigger 10 consecutive draws. Xia Fan hesitated at this moment. The system lottery mode was difficult to meet the conditions, and the experience bar was twice as long as the system reward. Even a regular lottery would be a bit difficult. Don't be in a hurry, if you want speed, you won't reach it. Anyway, I have already obtained the no seeking easy technique, stabilize it first. Xia Fan ultimately chose to save the reward and wait for 10 consecutive draws, hoping to plan a top-notch lottery. After the first storytelling, Xia Fan not only triggered the system, but also won the system reward package and system lottery for his good performance, which made him feel very happy. He. Little brother has a hand. The boss walked over with a smile and handed Xia Fan a small package, saying, "This is the reward you deserve, little brother." Xia Fan reached out to take it and weighed it. The weight was not light, and he smiled with satisfaction. "For the sake of you soliciting customers for me, let me give you some advice." The boss suddenly lowered his face and said, "If you cherish your life, hurry up and flee this place to find a powerful sect to join." Xia Fan looked puzzled and said, "Why do you want to escape? Am I not going to speak tomorrow?" The boss said, "Little brother, don't you really know? The Ming dynasty really had a sword god, Shimen Chue Shue, and the lord of Baiyun city. But they haven't met yet. If you plan their story, they will definitely not let you go. I'll go. Xia Fan suddenly felt embarrassed. Has their timeline not yet reached the peak of the Forbidden City? Chapter 3. The Interest of the First Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Fan never expected that if he didn't pay attention for a moment, he had already planted a hidden source of trouble. If he continued to preach here, even within the Tang dynasty, powerful individuals like Ximen Chuexue and Yiguqing above the Grandmaster realm, as well as those in the martial arts world without official positions, it wouldn't be too easy to come across the border to find him. As far as Xia Fan knows, the cultivation levels in this world can be roughly divided into acquired, innate, master, and great master levels. The acquired realm is an ordinary martial arts power that can be reached by human beings. The innate realm refers to the realm where one has already reached the point of absorbing qi and returning to the original state to forge innate vigorous qi, and can sense the heavenly atmosphere, vaguely touching the pinnacle of human beings. The Grand Master's realm is the ultimate realm of humanity, where 10,000 yuan return to one, the upper sense of heaven listens, and the lower level inherits the realm of 10,000 streams. Legend has it that the realm of the Great Master is a watershed between mortals and extraordinary realms, an insurmountable barrier. As for what kind of mysterious existence is above the extraordinary realm, there are different opinions among people, all of which are difficult for ordinary people to guess and touch, difficult to understand, difficult to comprehend, and difficult to touch. What is the specific realm of Sword God? Xia Fan has not yet entered the martial arts realm, so it is difficult to determine. He first judged the Grandmaster realm in his heart. He likes to take a long-term view. If Ximen Chuexue and Yiguqing were really Grandmaster realms, running from Zhongzhou to Hanzhou to trouble him would probably be much faster than innate strength. Xia Fan pondered repeatedly in his heart, regardless of whether those listeners would come tomorrow and not wait until the next decomposition, to demolish this tavern, he would leave now. The Ming dynasty of Zhongzhou was located in the southern part of the prosperous Tang Empire in Hanzhou. To the north, Xia Fan, who lived outside the cold frontier, would definitely not go to suffer. To the northeast, Xia Fan, who lived in Yongzhou, the Great Song dynasty, had never liked to be sent away, so he refused to go to Yongzhou. In the end, he had to choose the southwestern territory of Huazhou and the Great Qin dynasty. The Great Qin had the atmosphere of 100 schools of thought contending, and the first emperor harbored the aura of the world in his chest. Xia Fan thought to himself that if he showed some means, he might also be able to survive in the Great Qin. After some deliberation, Xia Fan immediately bid farewell to the restaurant owner and headed towards southwest China with his reward. And the storytellers in Longyu town quickly spread throughout the north and south of the Yangtze River, and the 9 provinces of the world soon learned that there was an arrogant young man who dared to write and talk about things without being granted the title of Sword God. The world of swordsmanship is like climbing rocks to seek the way, and one mountain is even more magnificent and majestic. How can anyone dare to adopt the word Sword God in the world? Some people were very dissatisfied and said, "So there is actually a Sword God within my Ming dynasty. I am so ignorant." Xiong Ba, the leader of the World Association who dominates on the edge of the martial arts world, looked contemptuously. I wonder if the old immortal of Dugu City and the nameless of Zhonghua Pavilion would have the thought of going for a while when they heard this news. Zhonghua Pavilion. A carefree man is calmly pulling his arrow, with a faint hint of sadness flowing out of his deep gaze. Sword God. The man smiled indifferently, and the arrow in his hand did not stop. He smiled and said, "The future is terrifying." The Great Qin Empire, Xianyang City, Imperial Palace. Emperor Shi listened to the report from Zhao Gao, the commander of the Zhongzhou Prefecture, and furrowed his brows lightly. Sword God. Has another unparalleled expert emerged from the territory of the Ming dynasty? Mr. Guanyin is known as the Sword Saint. Do you think which of you is stronger or weaker? Guanyin, standing beside him with a cold and stern expression, opened his eyes indifferently and said, "It's just a nominal name, not worth mentioning. As far as I know, there is also a sword saint in the territory of the Great Ming dynasty, and this person is even more terrifying. Your Majesty should focus on that storyteller, be granted a title, and tell the story of the Great Ming within the territory of the Great Tang dynasty. Perhaps there is another motive behind it." Upon reflection, Emperor Shi agreed with Gainie's statement. Since that young storyteller told a story, it has caused quite a sensation in the field of Kyushu Kendo. How could an ordinary storyteller have this ability? If he has ulterior motives, he must be ambitious. Emperor Shi smiled and said, "Sir, do you think I have a chance to bring him under my command?" Gainie nodded and said, "One word moves the 9 provinces. This person is not an ordinary person, your Majesty can give it a try." Emperor Shi glanced at Zhao Gao and said in a deep voice, "Zhao Gao." Zhao Gao's posture was extremely low and extremely respectful. "I am here. Do you know what to do?" "I understand." Zhao Gao, who was instructed by Emperor Shi, slowly withdrew from the main hall, and a cold chill appeared on his respectful face. Xia Fan was unaware that he had been targeted by various forces. After a month of long trek, he finally crossed the border of Hanzhou and the territory of the prosperous Tang dynasty, reaching the upper reaches of the Han River at the border of Zhongzhou, Hanzhou, and Huazhou. For the past month, Xia Fan has been practicing the Wuqiu Ju every day. He asks for the true self and nature, following the laws of the Nine Heavenly Way, and his cultivation has made rapid progress. His originally blank body had a very high starting point, directly using top-notch secret scripts as a foundation, and it was also a technique that matched the general trend of the Heavenly Way and his nature. So in just 1 month of the world, Xia Fan's internal skills and combat power have greatly improved. The day after tomorrow, he has almost reached the 8th level of the 9 realms. If he can maintain this speed and mentality to continue practicing, the innate realm is just around the corner. This is the benefit of practicing top-quality martial arts, practicing quickly without any side effects. With a contented heart, Xia Fan walked to the riverbank, washed his face to refresh himself, and prepared to enter the territory of Huazhou. But Xia Fan, who was in a happy mood, was completely unaware that there was a girl bathing in the river at the corner. Ah! So Xia Fan's reckless appearance caused a woman's shocking scream. Buzz! At the same time as the screams rang out, waves in the water piled up, and a white cloud gushed out. The girl in the river reached out and hastily wrapped her clothes around her body. She reached for a long sword in her hand, shaking it into a bundle of sword flowers. The attack was swift and lightning fast, reaching from a distance of 1 foot. However, seeing the sword's sharp yet agile momentum, she instantly launched 3 combos with 1 sword, directly attacking the 3 vital points of Xia Fan's throat, eyes, and heart. Oh! Who is it? Xia Fanlingbuting was stabbed by this violent sword, shouting loudly, but his hand was not slow. He had recently achieved some success in practicing the Wuxia technique, and immediately took a light step under his feet. He stood up and retreated back, while also lightly pointing his hand at the stabbing sword. With a strong thrust in his fingertips, he immediately bounced the sword out. The woman's martial arts were obviously very shallow. When Xia Fan flicked her long sword with a finger, she let out a groan and stumbled several steps, almost falling. Xia Fan fixed his figure, and only then did he see clearly the appearance of the young woman with cardamom. She was truly beautiful like a lotus in the water. The girl reached out and grabbed her clothes to block the spring light from leaking out. She was extremely angry and said, "What's so shameless about being a libertine? I accidentally passed through this place and bumped into the girl. It's impolite." Xia Fanue saw more and more that the girl was beautiful and charming, and instinctively asked, "That swordsmanship was very fierce just now. It must have been from a prestigious school. Could you please give me your name?" "Maid Zhou Zhiruo. The girl glared angrily at Xia Fan, and you. In Xia Fan. Which Xia Fan? Xia Fan is Xia Fan. Longyu Storyteller, Xia Fan. Chapter 4. The girl is indeed exceptionally beautiful. You are listening at novel full.audio. Longyu Storyteller. Upon hearing this, Xia Fan immediately realized that his emotions had spread so quickly during his storytelling in Longyu. The speed of the news spread even faster than him, and others had not yet left the boundaries of Hanzhou. As a result, people from other parts of the 9 provinces in the world had already heard of his reputation. Have I become popular now? Xia Fan's face showed a solemn expression, without any joy. As the saying goes, people are popular and there are many disputes, which is a bit disadvantageous for setting up a stall and storytelling in the future. It's easy to be targeted. It seems that we need to focus on cultivating in the world and quickly rise through the convenience of the system, so as to have the capital to venture in the world. Cough. Xia Fan coughed lightly twice and looked at Zhou Zhiruo, saying, although it's still a bit tender, it's really stunning. Shameless. Zhou Zhiruo didn't care about his clothes being wet, so he fitted in and pointed his sword at Xia Fan, angrily scolding, our side fought a fierce battle with the world and thunder of the demonic cult. We agreed to stop each other's troops, but you, the demonic cult spy, secretly touched our back. It must be malicious. Xia Fan said speechlessly, you just said I was a storyteller from Longyu. I just came from Longyu, the Hanzhou in the northeast. Are you going to war with the demon cult in the southwest direction? Can you tell me if there is any conflict between the spears during this period? Zhou Zhiruo's small face suddenly turned red, appearing somewhat at a loss. This. Xia Fan smiled and asked, I actually want to ask you, why are you swimming alone in the wilderness when Ame and the demon cult are at war? Because she was overjoyed by our day, her whole body was hot and dry. If she doesn't find a man, she can only soak in water to use her martial arts and detoxify. With a rough sound, more than 10 people suddenly walked out of the nearby forest. Demon cult demons. Zhou Zhiruo's face was full of resentment, and her eyes were both angry and afraid. You really don't keep your word, you want to cut off our path back. The leading man sneered and said, it's not a bad idea to exterminate the old nun. They led a surprise attack on our northwest altar and set fire to many of our supplies. Let's fight each other. Xia Fan could see that now this little Zhou Zhiruo is still in his prime, just going extinct, and Yang Xiao using the excuse of Ji Xiaofu's incident to start a fight. It's not yet time for the 6 major sects to besiege Guangming Peak. It's obvious that the 2 factions have just fought a tough battle nearby, but unfortunately, they happen to encounter each other by passing by. Xia Fan gently moved 2 steps and stood to the side. Stop. The disciple of the demon sect immediately scolded Xia Fan, you must be a villain as you are sneaking around here. Today, I will kill you too and let the Extinction Elder know that we, the 4 gates of heaven, earth, wind and thunder, have some abilities. Xia Fan was very speechless and said, hello. You are the demon cult. The demon cult. The villain is you, okay. I am just a passerby, a storyteller from Longyu. Have you heard of me? I am. Everyone in Mingjiao was taken aback and immediately said with a gloomy expression, I haven't heard of it. Stop talking nonsense and take your life. Xia Fan couldn't tell from their expressions that they must have heard of the title of Longyu Storyteller. Unexpectedly, he wanted to act foolish and act in a strange and eccentric manner, worthy of the name of the demon sect. Humph. Although Zhou Zhiruo's martial arts were very basic, his courage was not bad at all. He picked up his long sword and immediately fought against the Mingjiao crowd. Don't argue with her. 3 or 4 people are hanging on to her. The longer she uses her martial arts skills, the faster her joy will break out in a day. The man in charge commanded, the rest of you go kill this onlooker. Xia Fan clenched his fists and a wave of anger surged in his heart. But soon a strange thought arose, and his angry expression dissipated, replaced by an evil smile. Even the ants in the triple realm of heaven and earth dare to attack me. Xia Fan looked at the dozen or so people rushing towards him, with a stroke of his palms, a single palm welcoming them, and one side picking stars. His internal skills were released and he said, "The raging waves are crashing on the shore, one breath of heaven and earth." Buzz. In an instant, Xia Fan formed an invisible wall of qi within one zhang of his body, and his profound skills rolled up like stormy waves. The disciples of Mingjiao were all using their martial arts to resist, but were immediately bombarded by Xia Fan's Wuqiu Yi Ju Qi, causing more than 10 people to fall and lose their combat effectiveness. A few disciples of Mingjiao who were playing with Zhou Zhiruo in that room were attracted by the commotion here. As a result, they turned their heads and saw Xia Fan's dual palm external power strike and fly more than 10 people. Innate expert. Someone exclaimed in surprise, "It's an innate expert." Oh no, run. The others were so frightened by Xia Fan's move that they had no intention of fighting again, and their swords were thrown to the ground, turning around and running away. Whoever runs will die. Xia Fan shouted sternly, "Do you think that with your lightness skills, you can surpass me?" In fact, the others were so scared that their legs became weak and they couldn't even take a step. Plus being threatened by Xia Fan, no one dared to move at once. Zhou Zhiruo looked at Xia Fan with a surprised expression, her gaze completely different from before. "Don't be fooled. Do you know how to point acupoints? Gather them all together and point acupoints one by one to prevent them from running around." Xia Fan said to Zhou Zhiruo. "He is not a natural expert now, this is just a characteristic of the martial arts skills in Wuqiu Yi Ju." At this moment, Zhou Zhiruo also mistakenly believed that Xia Fan was an innate expert, and his words dared not disobey. In addition, Xia Fan took action to deal with the disciples of the Ming sect, so Zhou Zhiruo immediately followed suit one by one. Not long after, a group of Mingjiao disciples were arrested, their acupoints were tapped, and they sat in rows. "Great Xia, what do you want to do?" a Mingjiao disciple said with a sad face. "We are blind. Today we accept defeat. How can you give us a good time?" Xia Fan sat down in front of them with a smile and said, "Do you know what my nickname is? Longyu Storyteller." Zhou Zhiruo, who was using his martial arts skills to force poison, instinctively said. The disciples of the Ming sect nodded one after another. Now, in this situation, they finally couldn't hide that they had heard of Xia Fan's name. "Yes. I'm just a storyteller." Xia Fan smiled at everyone and said, "So, I'm in the mood now. I want to tell a story. As long as you listen to me honestly, I'll let you have it. Isn't it?" "Is there such a good thing?" a disciple of Mingjiao asked in surprise. "I have a clear answer." Xia Fan nodded and said. He wanted to experiment with the system and see if it could be triggered as soon as he entered the storytelling state. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to bind this group of people and force them to listen. "No way." Zhou Zhiruo blushed and said, "They are members of the demon cult. Countless martial artists have been harmed by them, so we cannot let them go so easily." "Hey, calm down." Xia Fan said to Zhou Zhiruo, "If you can listen to the book with peace of mind, when I finish speaking, I will help you detoxify." This person is really strange. Both Mingjiao disciples and Zhou Zhiruo felt incredulous about Xia Fan, who was both righteous and evil. "What kind of books do you want to listen to?" "Can we choose for ourselves?" said a disciple of the Ming sect. "I want to hear your excellency analyze the Golden Lotus." "I'll go get you." Xia Fan couldn't bear it anymore and just stepped up. "You're just a prisoner. How dare you click on this book?" Chapter 5. The Ultimate Layout of the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Xia Fan finished tidying up, the surrounding audience finally quieted down. Even Zhou Zhiruo was too grand to speak out, and everyone was listening attentively. Xia Fan paced back and forth for 2 steps, pondering for a moment in her heart, and then a flash of inspiration flashed. She smiled and said, "With this, I will start telling a story about becoming an immortal from today on." Zhou Zhiruo and others all looked bewildered and said, "Becoming immortal? Is there really an immortal in the world? Everyone, listen to me slowly." Xia Fan stroked his hand and smiled, organizing his mind for a moment before slowly speaking, "But there is a bronze ancient coffin that is said to have been crossed by many legendary beasts across the Milky Way in the boundless universe, the 8 wilderness universe, and the stars and galaxies, slowly coming." As soon as everyone listened, they imagined the strange scene of a savage beast pulling a bronze ancient coffin and walking in the dark sky, and couldn't help but shiver one after another. That bronze ancient coffin crossed the Milky Way, but came for one person's cause and effect. Xia Fan lowered his voice and said to the crowd, "That was an absurd dream, but also a hymn to becoming an immortal. It all started here." Everyone was gradually immersed in the story by Xia Fan's context, and began to listen to him describe the magnificent event about becoming an immortal. And just as everyone began to invest, Xia Fan noticed that the system experience had changed. Although the experience value increased very slowly, it was really when he started the storytelling mode, and as long as there were listeners listening, he could gain experience. After Xia Fan suddenly gained an understanding of the system mechanism, his confidence doubled. It turned out that there was a great evil buried above the firefly ancient star. A group of mortals stepped into the land of the evil and fierce seal, and immediately became the group of lions scratching and begging for death. Xia Fan whispered, recounting the experiences inside the treasure temple on the firefly ancient star one by one, and everyone around was shivering with fear. Zhou Zhiruo's face turned pale with fear and he said, "They were inexplicably dragged to that firefly disaster star evil place. What kind of immortality did they become?" Xia Fan shook his head and said, "There are several secret foreshadowings hidden among them, all related to a group of supreme beings. One of them is a chess piece dropped by an ancient and modern empress in the mortal world." "Chess pieces?" asked the Mingjiao crowd in great confusion, "so there is another reason behind the bronze ancient coffin crossing the Milky Way. Not bad. That's a touching story not about becoming an immortal, but about the return of a similar flower in the mortal world." Xia Fan said. "Is this story a bit chaotic?" said a disciple of the Ming sect. "Are you good at writing?" Xia Fan slapped her ears and said, "I asked you to keep interrupting me, but when the spoilers give you, are you still complaining? Oh my. Don't hit me, don't hit me. Keep talking. Keep talking." But it was said that a demon was startled inside the ancient temple. Originally, everyone was in a desperate situation, and suddenly, Lu Yin and Xiaomeng coincidentally encountered a magic weapon to defeat the enemy. There was actually another mystery inside the ancient temple. Xia Fan continued. At this moment, the speed of experience improvement in the experience slot suddenly accelerated. Xia Fan frowned and pondered in his heart. Someone must have arrived nearby, and he was hiding in the dark listening to his storytelling, so the system's experience value increased. Xia Fan remained silent and had no hidden luck in seeking the easy method. He enhanced his internal skills and enhanced his senses to sense the surrounding conditions. At the same time, he continued to tell the story of his immortality. After everyone obtained the magical tool in the ancient temple, there were no more evil spirits invading him. The great evil thief finally revealed his true body and turned out to be a crocodile demon. At this moment, 20 feet away, 2 figures were sneaking their heads slowly, and 10 feet behind them, more people were ambushed. Is this person really strange? Wei Yixiao, the blue-winged bat king, said to the handsome man beside him with a smile. He didn't find it difficult to catch the brothers in the sect. He was actually talking there. Hiss. And this story is quite pleasant. Yang Zhua, what do you think? Yang Xiao, the left envoy of Guangming, listened attentively and was able to hear Xia Fan's voice and every detail of his story clearly through his internal skills. Don't be busy, listen to the story first. It's boring to squat on the top of Guangming every day. Brothers have nothing to do, so listening to books is also good. Okay. Listen to the book. So the blue-winged Bat King also crouched down and continued to listen to Xia Fan's story. A large group of Mingjiao disciples in the rear were quite forced. Their internal skills were not strong enough, and they could only rely on some people with better internal strength to recount the story of becoming immortals at this time. It turned out that the small team of Tiandi Fenglei had been missing for a long time. Yang Xiao brought people to support them, but unexpectedly found that they were all caught by the legendary Longyu storyteller and listening to books there. So the Ming followers who chose to observe the changes quickly switched to the listening mode. At this moment, Xia Fan's story finally entered the Beidou stage. After all this turmoil, although everyone suffered heavy casualties, they finally got out of their predicament. After the bronze ancient coffin set sail again, they finally arrived at the destined place. Zhou Zhiruo's eyes lit up and he asked with joy, "Oh! Where have they been sitting in bronze coffins? Have they reached the land of immortality?" Other disciples of Mingjiao were also eagerly waiting for Xia Fan to continue speaking. Ding! When the system rewards experience points are full, get a chance for self-selection or machine selection rewards. With a soft sound, the system prompted the sound, and Xia Fan once again triggered the reward condition. Choose random rewards. Ding! Host selects random rewards. Ding! Please wait. Ding! Congratulations, you have obtained one intermediate elemental spirit pill. After taking the basic elemental spirit pill, you can increase your skill by 5 years. After taking the intermediate elemental spirit pill, you can increase your skill by 10 years. After taking the advanced elemental spirit pill, you can increase your skill by 50 years. How effective is the Xianpin Yuan Ling Dan? Xia Fan couldn't find it in the system. Isn't it? Only intermediate pills have been able to enhance their skills for the past few years. Xia Fan felt speechless when he saw the medicinal effect. However, after taking this pill, one still needs to practice and absorb it. Otherwise, consuming it will instantly increase one's skill for several years. If these skills are not absorbed in time, they will gradually dissipate and cannot be integrated into oneself. And even if it can be absorbed in the end, it cannot be fully absorbed 100%. Perhaps this time there were few listeners and the praise was not high, so the random prize did not produce good things, which immediately disappointed Xia Fan. Speak up. However, the disciples of the Ming sect urged Xia Fan to continue speaking. Where did that group of people fly to? Is it really a place of immortality or a Jedi? If you want to know the future, let's listen to the next chapter and break it down. Xia Fan, who was feeling down, said unhappily. The acupoints on your body were already unlocked an hour ago. According to the agreement, you can leave on your own. Don't bother me here. The disciples of the Mingjiao sect stopped working and said, Great Xia, please be kind and tell us the story behind it. Your behavior is no different from killing me. With a heart hanging, how can I sleep when I go back? I want to hear the story of becoming an immortal. If you don't tell us, we won't leave. These people. Are they fooling around? Xia Fan was speechless for a moment. These people were addicted to listening to books, and now they're letting them go. Surprisingly, they still refuse to leave. Buzz. Xia Fan's palms were filled with thick internal energy, and his clothes were fluttering in the air. An invisible cyclone shook around him, and everyone was frightened by his profound internal energy. Get lost. Xia Fan threatened, if you don't leave, you'll have to go to the underworld to listen to books. Chapter 6. Going to Daqin together. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Yang Xiao and Wei Yixiao, who were hiding in the distance, both had shocked expressions on their faces. The inner and outer strength of Xia Fan's hand really intimidated them. Innate expert. Yang Xiao and Wei Yixiao looked at each other with a smile, and they had a wrong understanding of Xia Fan, so they didn't dare to act rashly. After Xia Fan's imposing presence intimidated the disciples of the Ming sect, they all left reluctantly and dared not linger here for fear of angering Xia Fan and causing a fatal accident. Ladies and gentlemen, the story has also been told. You can leave now. Xia Fan turned to Yang Xiao and others who were ambushed in the distance and said, I don't care about the grudges and grievances between this little girl and you. But since I promised to help her just now, I won't stand idly by. I advise you to be sensible and leave now. After using the Wu Qiu Yi Ju, Xia Fan quickly discerned all the movements within 50 zhang around him. He could even discern their cultivation level from the breathing of Yang Xiao and others. Based on Xia Fan's current level of cultivation in the Wu Qiu Yi Ju, the more refined and pure his internal skills are, the more likely he is to win even against opponents of the same level. Moreover, Yang Xiao and others are only strong men around the 6th level, and Xia Fan can easily deal with him. After listening to Xia Fan's words, Yang Xiao carefully considered and realized that Xia Fan had not troubled anyone in Mingjiao. He had no intention of causing trouble to Zhou Zhiruo, a little girl. After hearing the sound of a rustling sound in the forest, the Mingjiao followers quickly left. At this point, only Xia Fan and Zhou Zhiruo are left. Faced with this situation, Zhou Zhiruo's little face couldn't help but blush and say, Why do you keep staring at me? The poison on your body is difficult to detoxify, let me help you. Xia Fan Yu said, shaking his hand and taking out 2 things. A medium-level elemental spirit pill can increase your power by 10 years after taking it. A top-notch skill mnemonic can help you understand the profound principles of the Tao and adapt to nature. You can choose either one. Although the intermediate Yuanling pill is a superior pill for ordinary people, it no longer plays a significant role for Xia Fan today. To effectively help him improve, one can obtain better grade pills. So this accumulation is of little importance to him, it's better to give it to this little beauty as a favor. You can also consider passing a portion of the Wuxia Ju to her, as her strength is not enough and her cultivation is obscure and difficult to understand. On the contrary, it is easy for her to become possessed. First, let her just reach the level of detoxification, so that her promise of detoxification will not be broken. Xia Fan handed both things to Zhou Zhiruo and asked, whether it's 10 years of martial arts or advanced internal skill mnemonics, they can easily help you dissolve that insignificant spring poison. I said I want to help you detoxify, and I will definitely do it. Zhou Zhiruo looked at Xia Fan with a strange gaze, from the initial vigilance to the later respect and admiration, and now the emotion sprouting in his heart. Xia Fan deeply moved the inexperienced Zhou Zhiruo with his free-spirited style and bold demeanor in a very short period of time. I can't accept such a precious gift. Zhou Zhiruo's face flushed slightly, unsure if it was a poison effect or shyness, making her look even more delicate and tender. Xia Fan urged, don't push or obstruct. I promise to help you detoxify. I will never break my promise. But I have nothing to repay for such a valuable thing, Zhou Zhiruo said, suddenly thinking of something unbelievable. She looked at Xia Fan with a surprised expression and said, do you want me to make a promise? Damn it. What are you thinking? Xia Fan was startled upon hearing this and said, am I that kind of person? Don't you see how old you are? Are you making excuses to covet my beauty? Zhou Zhiruo, who was not very old at this time and only 13 or 14 years old, was already in line with the age for marriage in such an era. But Xia Fan's thinking is quite modern, in his opinion, is this age a bit young? Zhou Zhiruo's face blushed more and more, and she shyly lowered her head, her voice slightly inaudible. Who is greedy for your beauty? You have helped me so much, and I cannot accept your kindness for nothing. Xia Fan thought for a moment and said, the people of Mingjiao don't kill too much, they are happy and have grudges. However, your master, due to his own selfish motives, launched a battle between the two sects for more than 10 years, resulting in countless deaths and injuries. She kills people like ants, and people's lives are like ants. This kind of person is not worth following. If you want to repay my kindness, I advise you to leave Ame. Go find your meaning in this world, don't blindly follow your master, and become her tool for killing and revenge. At this moment, Xia Fan became towering and majestic in Zhou Zhiruo's heart. How could such a selfless person care so much about themselves? Zhou Zhiruo's fondness for Xia Fan skyrocketed in his heart. I have low skills and cannot even defeat ordinary disciples of the demon sect. How can I wander the world alone and search for truth? Zhou Zhiruo said. Xia Fan thought for a moment and said, I will teach you a profound mind technique. You should practice it diligently, not to mention becoming the ancestor of a generation of masters. Walking in the martial arts world is not a problem. As Xia Fan spoke, he put away the Yuan Ling pill, pressed his palms against Zhou Zhiruo, and used his internal skills to help her detoxify. At the same time, he recited the mind technique of Wuxia Ju and taught her, listen carefully, don't move around. Zhou Zhiruo originally wanted to struggle, but felt the powerful internal power that Xia Fan was constantly surging in. Her body was surrounded by 4 limbs and 100 bones, and her acupoints and meridians were unobstructed with blood flow, as if washing marrow and refining the body. At the same time, she listened to Xia Fan recite the pithy formula mental skill, and she confirmed it a little. She secretly mobilized internal power along the pithy formula to respond to Xia Fan's internal power injected into her body. It was like seeing the sun through the clouds, and her strength was greatly increased. After practicing for a week, Xia Fan slowly regained his power. That's it. Xia Fan looked at the sky and said to Zhou Zhiruo, let's say goodbye now. The poison on your body has been resolved by me. There is also a flow of true qi in your body that does not seek the Ju. If you practice and comprehend the Wu Qi Ju diligently during the day, your skill will definitely improve rapidly. As for the Ame sect, I don't recommend you to go back, after all, your master is not a good person. Zhou Zhiruo's soul was captivated by Xia Fan's manipulation, and at this point, he had already deeply rooted in his emotions and believed in his words without doubt. Where are you going? Zhou Zhiruo saw Xia Fan turn around and leave, without any attachment to himself. It seemed that he really had no ulterior motives towards himself. He felt anxious and asked. Xia Fan thought for a moment and said, I'm going to Daqin. I heard that there are all sorts of scholars and schools of thought. As a storyteller, it should be easier for me to settle down there, right? Zhou Zhiruo thought for a moment and said happily, shall I go to Daqin with you? Are you saying you're not greedy for my beauty? Xia Fan said unhappily. Zhou Zhiruo's face turned red and she said, I can be your maid. I can take care of your daily life and drink well. Xia Fan shook his head and said, I haven't even changed my clothes in my second set. I'm all walking in the wilderness. What can you serve me? There's nowhere to warm my bed. Inferior. Zhou Zhiruo's face turned red to the base of her ears upon hearing this, and her voice became even fainter. Xia Fan was about to say something when he heard Zhou Zhiruo say, I'm not ready yet, give me some time. Damn it. You're still greedy for my beauty. Chapter 7. When I work in the Yin-Yang family, I have to look at the emperor's face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Longyu storyteller has spoken again, but this time he did not tell the story of the sword god Shimen Chueshue and the purple forbidden peak of the Baiyun city lord He Gucheng. Instead, he told a magnificent story of becoming an immortal. The world first knew that there was such a magnificent realm in the extraterrestrial universe, and only then did they know that the word universe was so magnificent and magnificent. Daqin, the Yin-Yang family. In the room of Xingluo Chenfu, the contemporary leader of the Yin-Yang family, Dong Huang Tai, casually asked, did the Longyu storyteller really mention the boundless world of stars? Under the steps, Moon God, Cloud Lord, Grand Minister of Rites, Junior Minister of Rites, and Star Soul all knelt on one knee. To report to Dong Jun, this matter is absolutely true. Xinghuan said in a deep voice, and the young man's face was filled with a gloomy expression that he shouldn't have had. He has now reached the third volume, where the young man roamed the Beidu and rose up among many aristocratic families, becoming powerful. Dong Huang Tai reached out and interrupted Xinghuan's words, his gaze becoming blurred as he said, the mysteries of the universe should only be known to us by peering into the mysteries of the heavenly Tao. I didn't expect anyone in this world to know about things inside and outside the universe. Star Soul's gaze turned cold and he said, I'll go kill him. Emperor Donghuang waved his hand and said, where is he now? He settled in Shangjuan, and it is said that he unintentionally leaked the secret story between Shimen Chuexue and Yi Gucheng while storytelling in Longyu, and fled here. Xinghuan said, it is likely that the people of Daming dare not cross the border to find him trouble, so he settled in Shangjuan and started storytelling again. The Moon God said, in Shangjuan, Meng Tian led 300,000 elite iron cavalry to guard the border of the Great Wall. Even innate experts who want to cause trouble have to weigh how long they can last. This person has the courage to boldly use the deterrent power of Meng Tian's iron cavalry to stay in Shangjuan. Dong Huang Tai said calmly, find him, I want to meet this Longyu storyteller. The Ximing hesitated and said to Emperor Tai, Dong Jun, it is said that Emperor Shi sent Zhao Gao to recruit this person. If we were to find him at this time, would it be inappropriate? Emperor Donghuang snorted coldly, just wait until Zhao Gao's people find him. When I work for the Yin-Yang family, I still need to see the emperor's expression. Everyone remained silent like cicadas, retreating one after another. Nanzhao Kingdom, worshipping the moon. Oh. I didn't expect anyone else in the world besides me to understand the theory of round earth. Baiyu slowly closed her book and smiled, what an interesting young man. I don't know where he came from. When I have time, I must go and meet him. Daqin, 9 departments of Shangjuan, Dongzhen. Xia Fan has been here with Zhou Zhiruo for almost a month now. After leaving the land of Hanzhou, he felt that those who were hiding and tracking him in the dark had disappeared. Xia Fan is very satisfied with the deterrent power brought by Meng Tian and his 300,000 iron cavalry guarding the Great Qin Wall. In this way, whether it is Shimen Chuexue, Yi Gucheng, or a Mei sect, they dare not cross the border to trouble him, right? So after getting rid of those hidden dangers, Xia Fan settled here and opened a tea house, where he would stop and speak. Shangjuan is also an important town, a transportation hub that runs from south to north, and a place that must be conquered by war. The area is bustling with people coming and going. Xia Fan bought a piece of land on the outskirts of Dongzhen and continued his old business. During the day, Zhou Zhiruo would read books, add tea and pour water, and practice at night. The story of becoming immortal, Xia Fan, has already mentioned that the young man rescued the God King trapped in Purple Mountain. Enemies from all directions within the God City wanted to forcefully kill the God King with depleted blood and energy. During this period, Xia Fan's experience gained from storytelling has grown significantly, and he has received system rewards several times in a row. At this point, he had already obtained top-notch techniques such as Wuxia Ju and Xixiang Ju, as well as advanced pills such as Yuan Ling Dan and De Huan Dan. De Huan Dan is a healing elixir. If one takes a Yuan Ling Dan to increase internal power and assist in refining and absorbing the effects of De Huan Dan during the healing process, the injury can be quickly healed. Xia Fan was pleasantly surprised to find that these two pills still have this combination effect. Due to the popularity of the story of becoming an immortal, his recent customer base has been increasing, and his recent experience has been on the rise. For example, today, Xia Fan opened the door to speak, surrounded by at least 1,000 listeners inside and outside. In order to take care of all the listeners, Xia Fan even used his internal strength to spread his voice further. It is precisely because of this day-after-day storytelling mode that Xia Fan's skills are more delicate and pure. But it is said that even though those saints held the extreme Tao Emperor's soldiers, they were still repelled by the God King who had suffered from exhaustion of qi and blood. Under the stimulation of his bloodline, the extreme Tao Emperor's soldiers passed down from the ancestors of the God King were even stronger and more terrifying. Xia Fan sipped his tea and continued, at that time, all the enemies from all directions were defeated. Finally, they emerged from a great enemy of the God King 4,000 years ago, a strong one who could secretly compete with him in the word fight. Everyone was greatly surprised. At this moment, the white-clothed divine king had run out of oil and his lamp had dried up, but another great enemy had arrived. Can he withstand it? Ding! The system's lottery experience is full and you have one chance to draw. Do you want to choose to draw now? However, at this moment, a system message came to Xia Fan's ear. He had enough experience points and triggered the system lottery mechanism. And today, he has already saved up 10 lucky draw opportunities. He can draw 10 consecutive times and will definitely receive a top-notch reward. 10 consecutive draws. Xia Fan didn't hesitate and directly chose 10 consecutive draws. Ding! The host has chosen 10 consecutive draws, ding. Please wait. Ding! The 10 consecutive draws are complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2 ordinary jade stones, 1 advanced cold iron stone, 1 Tianchan armor, and a complete set of Duzi secrets. Xia Fan was still watching the system rewards one by one, but when he saw the Dozi Mi rewards of the Dozhan Holy Law, he immediately ignored all the subsequent lottery rewards. I'll wipe it. The white-clothed divine king is known as the most powerful Dozi Mi for 4,000 years, which can replicate all the fighting techniques of battle. Xia Fan almost burst out laughing without excitement. The effect of 10 consecutive draws is simply not too good. Compared to the randomly selected no-seeking easy technique, this is a reward far beyond the top level. Xia Fan believes that the value of Duzi secret and no-seeking easy technique is simply the difference between heaven and earth, and can already be recognized as a legendary reward. Shop owner, come on. Why didn't you say it? How is the White God King doing? As a result, the people around were still urging Xia Fan to speak. Cough cough. If you want to know the future, let's listen to the breakdown later. Xia Fan smiled and said, that's all for today's book. Everyone, please come back. A burst of discontent erupted among the people around them. Just as they heard the key point, the enemy of the White God King attacked, and their appetites became aroused. However, the shop owner didn't say anything. However, dissatisfaction returns to dissatisfaction, and no one dares to cause trouble. Because the upper county is guarded by the Golden Fire Cavalry, they also come out of the military camp to listen to books during their usual rest. If someone dares to cause trouble, the Golden Fire Cavalry is the first to be unwilling. After Xia Fan learned the secret of the holy method of fighting, he felt secretly happy and wanted to close the stall for research. Zhou Zhiruo happily tidied up the tables, chairs, and tea sets. As soon as this small shop opened, the daily income from storytelling was enviable, and Xia Fan no longer had to worry about his livelihood. At this moment, Xia Fan sensed a wave of killing intent approaching. He has been practicing the non-seeking easy technique for several months, with excellent aptitude. Coupled with the compatibility of his mind and nature with the non-seeking easy technique, his cultivation has reached the perfect level of the 9 levels of the postnatal realm, and he can even vaguely perceive a strand of natural magic, touching the threshold of the postnatal realm. At this moment, a killing intent came and was immediately sensed by him. Chapter 8. Tearing the Trap. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The surrounding listeners have dispersed, but even in the midst of the complex and chaotic crowd, Xia Fan can still accurately sense the location of the killing intent. He is the most sensitive to the natural mechanisms of the Tao when practicing the no-seeking easy technique. In addition, he has already touched the threshold of the innate realm, and it is not easy to find a mortal's murderous aura in the vast sea of people. At this moment, Zhou Zhiruo, who had just been tidying up her seat, walked over with a solemn expression and said, "You have a murderous aura." Xia Fan not only allowed Zhou Zhiruo to practice the Wuxia, but also gave her an intermediate pill to help her refine. Therefore, Zhou Zhiruo's cultivation has also improved rapidly, with the 6 levels of the acquired realm. Coupled with the characteristics of the Wuxia, she can quickly capture the killing qi around her. It's just a clown jumping off a beam. Xia Fan sneered and said, "I should have the strength of the triple and quadruple realms the day after tomorrow. I dare to keep an eye on them even now. Isn't it some organization coming to monitor them?" Upon hearing this, Zhou Zhiruo trembled coquettishly and exclaimed angrily, "Are you just causing trouble in the triple realm the day after tomorrow?" "Sir, please wait a moment, I will go and capture him." "Oh my!" Xia Fan quickly grabbed Zhou Zhiruo and said, "Wait until everyone has dispersed before going, so as not to start fighting and harm innocent people." Zhou Zhiruo looked at Xia Fan and silently extended her thumb. Before long, the crowd outside the small shop had already dispersed. The news of the shop owner not telling a book today spread, and it is unlikely that anyone will wander around in this wilderness today. Ha! Xia Fan saw that everyone had left, and the murderous aura hidden in the darkness not only did not disappear, but also became stronger and stronger. He was somewhat surprised, so fearless. "Do you really want to come up and take action?" "Humph." Zhou Zhiruo let out a coquettish voice, carrying a sword and strode towards the distant forest. Soon, the sound of a clanging fight could be heard in the forest. "He. Did you hide it for long enough?" Xia Fan didn't pay any attention to the fight in the forest. He believed that Zhou Zhiruo, who had practiced the Wuxia and taken the Yuan Ling Dan, would never lose to that group of miscellaneous fish. Yes, it's a group. There is more than one enemy lurking nearby. A figure slowly walked out from behind Xia Fan's tea shop, with a pair of swords on his back and a cold gaze on his face. "I have no grudges or grievances with you, why release hostility towards me?" Xia Fan looked at the person and asked, "I admit that I have never seen you, and I cannot offend you. The CRRC government ordered you to die, so it doesn't matter if we have any grudges or grievances between us." The person slowly drew out his double swords from behind and approached step by step. "Zongfu Ling Zhao Gao." Xia Fan immediately thought of everything. "Are you the traps under Zhao Gao's command? Are these 2 swords? The top-notch assassins in the traps, Xian Jian, one of the 8 swords of the king of Yu." Xian Jian was taken aback for a moment, but he didn't expect to say just a few words about the Zhongcha Mansion order. The other party immediately calculated everything, and his gaze became even more murderous. "It's true that the adult personally pointed out the person to be killed. With your intelligence, I won't leave you a way out." Xia Fan frowned and said, "Hey, I." Buzz. Before Xia Fan could speak again, Xian Jian had already launched an attack. He quickly leaned forward and swept up, with a flash of his black sword in his hand. In an instant, a strong wind swept over, and the speed was so fast that it was 3 zhang away. The sword energy spewed out vertically and horizontally, and the black light pierced before Xia Fan's eyes. Xia Fan's face showed displeasure, but he didn't expect the other party to come and take his life directly. Humph. As Xia Fan saw the black sword's sharpness strike, his invisible energy surged around him. He waved his hand and used a move called immortal, pointing the way to slant and point his finger at the black sword. When Xianjian suddenly felt his arm sink, and a heavy and terrifying internal force came from the sword. Then he heard a loud noise in his ear, and saw that the opponent was actually an ordinary immortal pointing the way, so he broke his deadly sword. Xianjian wildly used his internal skills to suppress the rebound of his internal power with one hand. With a flick of his right hand, a white sword quickly wrapped around him. He used his white sword to unleash a white python and stabbed Xia Fan's arm. Xia Fan slapped with a backhand, and with one move, Ma Zhongnan Mountain slammed onto the eerie and swift body of the white sword. Bang bang! The white sword flew out of his hand in an instant, and Xianjian couldn't hold on to that thick internal power. Surprisingly, Xia Fan slapped the weapon away with one palm. This. Xianjian was surprised and forcefully suppressed the power of the black sword with his backhand. He hit Xia Fan with a move of fishing for the moon from the bottom of the sea, and exclaimed angrily, "Are you a congenital expert?" When? However, this sword, which was already struggling to strike, suddenly saw the cold Mang sword chi disintegrate, and the sword's momentum abruptly stopped. Xianjian was shocked to see Xia Fan's two fingers firmly gripping the black sword's body, crushing all of Xianjian's attacks. No matter how much he urged his internal power, he could not gain any control over the black sword. "Tell me the truth, why did Zhao Gao want to kill me?" Xia Fan asked coldly. Xianjian let out a cold snort, let go of his hand, flipped over, jumped up, and suddenly retreated towards the back. He abandoned his black sword and turned around to pick up his white sword before engaging with Xia Fan again. Puff! However, Xia Fan shook his hand and the black light in his hand suddenly flashed, throwing and shooting like lightning, directly piercing through the Xianjian and grabbing the right hand of the white sword on the ground. Suddenly, blood surged. Xianjian was severely injured and let out a muffled groan. His steps were chaotic, and he couldn't control his body. He flipped over and fell to the ground. The intelligence is incorrect. Why is the target an innate expert, but it has been reported as the 5 realms of the day after tomorrow? Xianjian felt extremely painful, but as he watched Xia Fan walk, he suddenly drew his black sword, and the wound on his arm burst with blood. Shua. However, Xia Fan did not seek to activate the internal power of the Yi Ju. He opened his 5 fingers in the palm, and his internal power rolled up in the air. A powerful force of energy was actually rolling up the black sword in Xianjian's hand, and he snatched it away in the air. Xia Fan used his aerial capture to forcefully snatch the sword from Xianjian's hand. This terrifying expression made Xianjian's eyes tremble with fear. Wrong answer. Xia Fan lightly shook his black sword and pointed to the Xianjian on the ground, saying, "I'll ask you for the last time, why did Zhao Gao kill me? Why has Xianjian ever encountered such shame? The strength of the two is vastly different. How could he, due to a wrong intelligence, confront a master who seems to have an innate realm? I advise you not to act recklessly." Xianjian sneered and said, "If you dare to touch me, it will be tearing open the thread of the net and will." Puff! A blood arrow sprayed out, and Xianjian was shocked to see his headless body lying on the ground. The storyteller threw away his black sword and turned away. How could? Like this, Xuanjian's gaze completely darkened, his consciousness completely dissipated. Xia Fan will never be lenient towards those who are full of hostility and murderous intent towards him. Therefore, since Xianjian refuses to speak up, he will not even give him the final dignity of taking poison and committing suicide, and will directly kill him. Zhao Gao. Xia Fan's face flashed with a hint of anger. Chapter 9. Who gives who a way out? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The people who were caught in the trap would come to monitor and even take action, which was unexpected for Xia Fan. After becoming famous, it's not a big deal to be looked at by people in the market and rivers and lakes more or less. However, Xia Fan, who came up directly to take his life, still feels a bit confused. After all, besides offending Shimen Chueshue and Yigucheng in storytelling, it's unreasonable for him to have grudges and entanglements with others. Is it the trap that took the money to buy my head? Xia Fan couldn't have thought about it. Shimen Chueshua and Yi Gucheng were the kind of people who would do it themselves if something happened, and he didn't believe in buying or killing someone. Humph, eunuch, seek death. Anyway, this account must be attributed to the trap, and Xia Fan has already become angry. At this moment, the fighting in the forest had ended, and Zhou Zhiruo slowly walked out with a 3-foot green blade in his hand. His sword was devoid of blood, and it was truly a good sword. Is there another one here? Zhou Zhiruo noticed Xian Jian on the ground with a different head, showing an angry expression. I don't know which faction has trained so many dead soldiers. I originally wanted to capture one or two to ask questions, but ended up biting the poison in my mouth and committing suicide. Xia Fan's gaze sank, indeed in the style of a trap. Pack up and continue opening the store tomorrow. Xia Fan said to Zhou Zhiruo, keep this account in mind for now and pay it back slowly in the future. However, before Zhou Zhiruo could even take action, a mocking mockery could be heard from a distance. Do you still think about the future? A short figure walked out and looked at Xia Fan with a sneer on his face. If you offend the trap, there will be an endless stream of assassins coming to take your life. There will be endless layers of poisoning and assassination. Except for the Yin-Yang family, no one can protect you. Who? Zhou Zhiruo was surprised that there was still someone hidden in the dark, but she didn't notice it. This exaggerated attire, frivolous stripes, and short body are probably the star souls of the Yin-Yang family, right? Xia Fan looked at the little dwarf and immediately lost his liking for him. As soon as Xinghuan heard that Xia Fan dared to say he was short, a cold frost covered his face, and a silent killing aura rippled. I advise you to be kind. Xia Fan immediately sensed the murderous aura of the star soul and sneered, look at this corpse on the ground and figure out what attitude you should use to talk to me next. Xinghuan was furious and said, you should have figured it out. Our Yin-Yang family is your only way out. It's not good for you to offend me. If it weren't for Dongjun repeatedly reminding me to see you, I would have killed you long ago. The only way out. Xia Fan is about to burst out laughing. As expected, the more powerful one is, the more confident one becomes. What is your Yin-Yang family? In this vast world of martial arts, there are countless forces that can wreak havoc on the traps. Your Yin-Yang family looks up to you too much, right? Seeing Xia Fan's caring and intellectually disabled gaze, Xinghuan immediately felt humiliated. It seems that killing Xianjian has made you feel a bit overwhelmed. Xinghuan snorted coldly, and purple light burst out all over his body. His hands suddenly projected 2 sword energies, saying, if I don't teach you a lesson, won't you obediently go back to see Dongjun with me? Gathering qi to form a blade. This skill has exploded into this realm. Are you already in the innate realm? Xia Fan was surprised to see that Star Soul was about to take action and found that Star Soul had actually increased significantly. Aren't you also in your innate realm? Star Soul spread his hands and suddenly turned into 2 purple lights rushing towards him. Don't think I can't see your strength. Buzz. Xia Fan faced the Star Soul that had gathered qi into a blade. With one hand closed, he used his energy to create an invisible qi wall within 3 feet of his body. The Wuxia technique erupted, and a thick and pure internal force sprayed out, instantly blocking the Star Soul's qi blade. With a backhand swipe of the Star Soul, a meteor shot down the moon, and suddenly purple light shone in all directions. Multiple qi blades launched attacks on Xia Fan from different arc trajectories, saying, I see how long your internal functions last. Xia Fan showed a pitiful expression towards the Star Soul, and then he used the Wuxia technique with one hand to strike away the sword energy. With the other hand, he used the 4 elephants technique, causing the 4 elephants of wind, thunder, earth, and fire to change. His internal skills in his palm transformed into a physical form and surged up. How dare you compete with me for your scarce internal strength? Xia Fan used the no seeking easy technique and the for symbols technique in one hand, attacking and defending like a storm raging, surrounded by his internal skills being frantically squeezed. The Star Soul battle could only use 3 moves, and all the chi blades were shattered. He was even more shocked by Xia Fan's profound internal power. How could you have such a profound internal power at your age? Xia Fan smiled but remained silent. I have just mastered the Duzi secret and haven't had a chance to learn it yet. Otherwise, I would have kept you bouncing around for so long. Turning the heavens and earth, the rivers and seas flow freely. Xia Fan let out a low shout, and his internal strength increased to the extreme. In an instant, a storm formed by his internal skills swept out, shattering all objects within 10 zhang of him. Xinghuan clasped his hands and quickly used his internal skills to block Xia Fan's attack with a double-edged cyclone. However, Xia Fan's internal strength was so profound that the Star Soul felt overwhelmed by the continuous power on the opposite side. It was as if facing a mountain and a stone against the current, and he was powerless to resist it. In an instant, he was knocked away by Xia Fan's move. Wow! The Star Soul's chest burned like a blazing fire, and its throat was extremely spicy. As it opened its mouth, it spewed out a bunch of fresh blood. The purple aura around its body dissipated, and Xia Fan's one blow shattered his concentrated chi into a blade, causing him considerable internal injuries. With just this little strength, who can give anyone a way back? Xia Fan had long been displeased with Star Soul's invincible expression on his face. Now that he had fought 5 moves, Star Soul was kneeling and vomiting blood, and his words were even more gentle. For the sake of you being a little more restrained than those silly guys in the trap, go. Next time, I will definitely take your dog's life. Star Soul was furious and suddenly stood up, but his internal breathing was disordered. Xia Fan's internal energy had almost displaced his internal organs. This forced lift almost made him unable to close his breath, and Star Soul's feet softened and he knelt down again. After watching for so long, it's time to come out. Do you really want me to kill him? Xia Fan shouted into the forest. Zhou Zhiruo's face was covered in black lines. How many people are hidden in the woods around this small shop? Upon being shouted by Xia Fan, Yun Zhongjuan walked out with a face full of sarcasm. Without saying a word, he helped Xing Soul up and whispered something. Xing Soul then looked at Xia Fan with a face full of unwillingness and let Yun Zhongjuan take him away. Xinghuan knew that after World War I today, this young storyteller would surely become famous, and he and Xianjian would both become stepping stones to his fame. But why should a born expert be a storyteller? This left Star Soul puzzled and defeated by a storyteller, making it difficult for Star Soul to swallow this breath. Crazy! Star Soul said angrily and unwillingly, you have offended the Luo Net and Yin Yang families. I see how long you can be wild in Qin's territory. Chapter 10. Using shark teeth to comb your hair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xianjian, who was famous in the martial arts world and committed countless murders, died and was chopped to death with just a few moves. The Star Soul of the Yin Yang family lost, and after using the Qi gathering and blade forming technique to increase by dozens of times, they were defeated by several moves. They managed to escape the disaster by relying on their opponent's net. 2 renowned experts in the Qin region were killed and injured by the same person. The Longyu storyteller suddenly gained fame, and the world knew that he was not just a simple storyteller. Xianyang, within the imperial palace. Emperor Shi looked at the secret report and sneered, not only mocking but also disdainful. Who is Xianjian? Is he very powerful? Gai Nie beside him said, I once teamed up with my junior brother to fight against him, and Xianjian's skills are quite good. Oh. Have you ever fought against him? Emperor Shi suddenly became interested. A person who couldn't be defeated by the joint efforts of the Ghost Valley and the young storyteller has been killed now. Is that person even more powerful than you? Dealing with Xianjian is something that happened when I was young, Guy said expressionlessly. It's possible that Xiaozhuang can handle him alone now. Black and white Xuanjian sword, without a soul, is ultimately inferior to Xiaozhuang with high consciousness. Emperor Shi nodded and asked, so even the star soul that gathers qi to form a blade has lost. What do you think? Gathering qi to form a blade is extraordinary. That person has profound skills and can break through the soul of stars, probably not just in innate realm. Guy asserted. However, Guy underestimated Xia Fan's strength. Xia Fan's ability to defeat the star soul was more due to his strong martial arts skills. Such a talented person, I am extremely interested. Emperor Shi looked at Guy and asked, is Mr. Guy willing to go and try his skills? Guy nodded and said, so handsome and heroic, I also want to see it. Emperor Shi nodded and his gaze suddenly turned to Zhao Gao, who was waiting below. A subtle anomaly flashed away. The Longyu storyteller has become popular again, and this time it's no longer about storytelling, but because he defeated 2 experts. Damn it, this kid kidnapped Zhiruo and actually went to Qin. Abbess Mia was furious and said, we can't cross the border of Mingjiao in Hanzhou, Zhongzhou, and Huazhou to rescue Zhiruo. Ding Minjun, the eldest disciple, offered a suggestion and said, isn't Zhang Sanfen, the founder of Wudang sect, having a deep friendship with our sect? How about Master go and ask him to take action? Upon hearing this, Abbess Extinction fell into contemplation. Shanjuan in the state of Qin, located on the outskirts of Dongzhen. After defeating Xianjian and Xinghuan, Xia Fan's days remained the same, and it seemed that people did not have the arrogance and indulgence they should have after becoming famous. However, due to his fame in World War I, more and more people listened to books every day. As for the story of becoming an immortal, Xia Fan told it tightly in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th volumes, listening to the daily overcrowding of guests. On that day, in the holy land of Yaoqi, there was still a fierce confrontation between the human race and the ancient race. Xia Fan talked about the plot of the first opening of the immortal realm, and the surrounding listeners were all wide-eyed, full of shock. Seeing that the human race was weak, they had already been bullied by the ancient race and had no face left. At this moment, the white-clothed divine king walked through the wind and snow. The surrounding audience was filled with righteous indignation and roared with excitement. Xia Fan calmly continued his storytelling. After losing his beauty in the divine city, the white-clothed divine king has returned with white hair all over his head. However, the white-clothed divine king, who is concerned about the human race, let go of his sadness and went to a banquet at the Yaoqi lake. The ancient race intended to make things difficult for the human race, so he immediately provoked him. However, the white-clothed divine king's strength is not as strong as before, and he quickly defeated the strong enemy. Everyone took a deep breath. The white god king lived for thousands of years. Does this path of immortality really exist? And listening to Xia Fan's words, in that bizarre world, the white-clothed divine king waved his hand and the mountains and rivers were shattered and the universe was overturned. He was the only one in a lifetime. Does someone like him, a powerful person in the world, also have human emotions and desires? The white-clothed divine king fought a battle and defeated many powerful members of the Taiku tribe. Xia Fan said, above the Yaoqi lake, the human race has finally gained the attention of the Taiku tribe once again. What happened later? The surrounding audience was boiling with excitement, wanting to know how the dispute over Yaoqi had developed and the outcome. If you want to know the future, let's listen to the breakdown. Xia Fan, the old god, revealed a smile that the audience was extremely familiar with and also caused them immense pain. A wave of boos echoed around, expressing unwillingness to leave. Xia Fan smiled and said, let's break up. We'll make it early tomorrow. If there's any more trouble, I'll report it to the authorities. Everyone saw that Xia Fan had no plans to continue reading today, so they all bid farewell in frustration. Zhou Zhiruo happily picked up a basin full of harvest and hummed a tune to tidy up his things. Xia Fan took a sip of tea and looked at the middle-aged man in the corner with a relaxed expression. He smiled and said, "We're closed now." The man gently put down his tightly held sword in his arms and looked at Xia Fan, asking, "Is the strongest martial art of the white-clothed divine king called the fighting holy art? Can you really use one move to break mountains and rivers? If you want to know the future, please listen to the breakdown in the next section." "Is there really a fairy in the world?" the man asked again. "If you want to know the future, please listen to the breakdown in the next section." The man slowly stood up, grabbed the sword from the table, and looked at Xia Fan, saying, "Does this method exist? Why? If I don't tell a story, you're going to chop me off." Xia Fan looked at him and said with a smile, "I'm in a good mood today and don't want to fight. I suggest you be more sensible." The man's body suddenly flashed, and before he could drop his large banner, he was already approaching Xia Fan 3 zhang away in an instant. A strange sword suddenly struck horizontally. "Cross all directions." The man let out a deep cry, his white hair flying up, his whole body soaring into the air, and he swung a sword-like aura, like a wheel, directly rushing towards Xia Fan's face. "I'm going to Wei Zhuang." Xia Fan immediately reacted to this person's outfit, moves, and demeanor. "Are you looking for a fight? Do you want me to comb your hair with shark teeth?" "Humph." Wei Zhuang let out a cold snort, his sword moves becoming even more complex. One sword is divided into 6 paths, with changes in the path and 30.6 moves in one move. There are dozens of changes in the subsequent moves, and their momentum is infinite and mysterious. Xia Fan was overwhelmed by the disturbance and slapped him with a backhand, saying, "The heavens and earth rise, mountains and rivers move." Dong! The fierce internal force suddenly collided, and Wei Zhuang's invincible cross-8 sword move instantly shattered, causing him to be forcefully shaken back by Xia Fan in the air. Using internal skills to create fluctuations and external attacks, it directly cracked the sword moves that traverse all directions. "Are you really a master of the innate realm?" Wei Zhuang coldly raised his sharp teeth and pointed at Xia Fan in the distance. "I didn't expect Xianjian to not enter the innate realm after so many years and be killed by you." Xia Fan snorted coldly, "What reason can we refuse those who love to seek death?" "Oh." Wei Zhuang said with a smile on his face, "You surprised me and made me appreciate you."